For a long time, people have been raising concerns with me about an organisation known as ACON. It began life as the AIDS Council of New South Wales, but it uses the name ACON now because it's changed into something very different. Yes, it's still active in the health space, but it operates more prominently now as an advocacy group, and it advocates for gender and sexuality diversity and inclusion, as it would have it, although many critics would say it advocates for a radical agenda on gay, lesbian and transgender issues. It gets millions of dollars of government funding every year, and it gets funding from companies and departments who use it to provide training and advice on inclusion and diversity. It also evaluates the level of inclusion and diversity in various organisations and then issues scores and awards based on those assessments. And the views this organisation pushes are pretty bizarre and a long way from mainstream. Listen to this training video that says workplaces should not use terms like mother and father.
When we continue to use terms that buy into that, such as maternity leave, paternity leave, mother, dads, all of these terms, that's reinforcing those gender norms. So using terms like primary caregiver, secondary caregiver, making sure we're not referring to partners using gendered terms like mother, like dad, is really important.
What a sad joke. Your taxes at work, eh? But it gets worse. This organisation gets a double dose of your taxes because organisations like the ABC pay it thousands of dollars so they can be involved in its inclusion programs. And the ABC and its managing director have won gold awards for their efforts.
So, what does the ABC have to do to achieve this ranking? Documents released under FOI reveal the broadcaster wins points in a number of ways for providing a safe and inclusive workplace. And we should celebrate that because its commitment to diversity and inclusion is laudable. The ABC also scored points for providing Sydney news presenter Jeremy Fernandez, who emceed the 2022 Australian LGBTQ Inclusion Awards, for pro bono work, and for sending delegates to LGBTQ conferences, and for having ABC staff march in Mardi Gras, which ABC News reported.
There were 190 floats in the parade, including the first ever from the ABC.
The ABC also scored points for having ABC boss David Anderson on the Mardi Gras float.
Now, as you know, I'm often critical of Media Watch, but on this occasion they have provided a useful report into an obvious case of ABC bias. For instance, to get this ACON award, the ABC won points for programs it ran about transgender kids and about gay people coming out. So it's clear this arrangement might skew its coverage.
Imagine, for example, the ABC paying thousands of dollars to Greenpeace and winning prizes for running stories attacking the fossil fuel industry, or paying money to the Australian Republican movement and being rewarded for a series criticising the monarchy. How would that be defensible or impartial? And what if the ABC also steered clear of debate on contentious matters, as it arguably does on transgender issues?
Yeah, we've seen this happen, and I've highlighted some cases on this program before, especially on how the ABC attacked Liberal candidate and founder of Save Women's Sport, Catherine Deves, in reports that were found to be inaccurate and biased. And indeed, surprise, surprise, there have been examples of ABC journalists going to ACON for editorial advice.
And emails from 2020, obtained under FOI, show an ABC journalist seeking and receiving advice from ACON on the correct definition of the word family. That may well be an isolated example, but even if there is no editorial interference, changing the language and internal culture of a media organisation may still influence editorial values and programme story selection.
So this is a pretty disturbing arrangement, isn't it? It's another way the ABC misuses your tax dollars to push its green left and woke agenda. And it's great that the ABC's Media Watch has exposed the conflict. But they do, of course, ignore the elephant in the room. And that is that while the ABC falls over itself pushing a radical sexual and gender diversity agenda, it pays lip service to mainstream values. And it does nothing to address the real diversity that matters at a national broadcaster, the diversity of ideas. It might win gold awards for gay and lesbian Mardi Gras floats, but the ABC would not be able to muster two conservatives to ride a scooter down Oxford Street.